I want to talk for a minute about green lending and if it's a contradiction in terms. I work for the Community Preservation Corporation. We're actually a nonprofit 501c3 mortgage finance company. And we were founded in '74 by a clearinghouse of banks who wanted to spread risk across more than one bank. We are sponsored by more than 70 banks, and our mission is to provide an economic platform of investment to spur recovery in distressed communities. I checked today, we're up to 139,000 units. I updated the numbers of low and moderate income housing, primarily in New York State, some in Connecticut and New Jersey, a couple in Massachusetts. We're actually doing some work out in Pittsburgh this year. But public-private investment of over $7.9 billion and very low on the loan losses, less than 2% since '74. So we started looking at our portfolio in 2007, and I didn't work for CPC, but they hired me as a consultant to sort of take a look and see how they're doing on their buildings. They had 62,000 units in their portfolio, and what they always looked at was, well, how much does energy cost? But and they looked at everything by room, but no one could tell me what the average size room was, so we were getting this dollars per room figure that was sort of worthless in kind of knowing how much energy and water buildings use. So starting last year, we started looking at all of our buildings. This is about 750 loans, and we found out what they use in cost per square foot for oil. And this is our average building, coming in at about $1.88 a square foot for oil. By the way, that's a pig. That's not doing very well. But if you see here, we also have buildings in the under 50 cents a square foot, and we have buildings over $4 a square foot. If you look at any group of buildings, any universe of buildings, you see this same occurrence all the time. In our buildings, the fuel gas, the gas usage per square foot was a little bit less than oil, but I just got the data yesterday, and I wasn't able to put it in the calculations yet. Our gas buildings are now just about our most expensive buildings. Or excuse me, our gas buildings are more expensive than number 2 oil now, but our number 6 oil buildings are the most expensive per square foot. So that's the opposite of what a lot of people would think, but I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that number 6 oil may be cheap, but it also gets boilers dirty real fast, so they drop in efficiency. If a building is a walk-up and you take the common area electric and divide it by the total square footage of the building, it's about 44 cents a square foot. If it's an elevator building, it's 64 cents a square foot. Okay, non-elevator buildings, 44 cents. Elevator buildings, 64 cents. Anybody have an idea what uses all the electricity? Come on. It isn't the elevators. Ha. Buildings with elevators have 2 extra stairwells. So it's the lights that's on in those stairwells that nobody uses that are on 24 hours a day. These are residential buildings, by the way. These aren't commercial. These are multifamily. Water and sewer charges for buildings that are frontage or a standard charge come in at 48 cents. Metered buildings come in at 68 cents. That number came even this year. They're exactly the same, which means that buildings that are metered for water started looking at their usage and started conserving after a year of having meters. So everybody comes to me all the time and says, well, we want to make our building greener, so we want to do, ground source heat pumps and solar panels and bamboo floors and green roofs and windmills. And I kind of say to them, well, why don't we work to kind of make the building more efficient to start with? No, everybody wants the glitz. And the glitz doesn't work until you do the other stuff. So, and the major areas of inefficiency are the same in every retrofit, every rehab, every new construction job. There's technical inefficiency, and that's kind of like tighten the buildings up, make sure that there's air sealing between spaces. In code, that's called fire stopping, to stop the fire from moving from floor to floor. Make good systems in the building. If you're putting in heating, ventilating, or air conditioning system, make sure it's properly sized and as efficient as it can be, but sizing it to the load is a really smart thing. Get better building controls. Most of us in New York City that live in apartments use double hung zone valves to control our heat. We open the windows. And if we had really good controls on our radiators and in our boiler rooms, we wouldn't have that problem. You know, saving water is sort of silly. I still get from co-op boards, well, we don't want to give up our, you know, 12-gallon-a-minute shower heads. That's disgusting. It's piggish. It's ridiculous. We had people from Syria that I did a presentation for last year. When I told them the average New Yorker uses 200 gallons of water per day, they were aghast. I mean, they live in a desert community, but they're more like 50 gallons a month. You know, so this kind of thing is really good to look at. We need to upgrade the ventilation systems where they're present in multifamily buildings, and there's some really good science that's been done by Carrier and Stephen Winter Associates and a bunch of other people to balance existing ventilation systems fairly inexpensively. We need brighter spaces. We need apartment and common area and exterior lighting retrofits. And just like at your house, when you're not using the lights, we got to have them off. We got to have better sensors on them. And we've got to have a better building enclosure. We've got to have better specifications for windows and insulation. And we have to think about this before we do it. If we've got an 1865 co-op and they want to upgrade their windows, let's keep them historic and fix them as they are instead of ripping them out and putting crappy aluminum windows in. Or if we're going to put windows in, put high performance windows in. But then there's this psychology thing going on. Building professionals don't talk. Dan and I were in a charrette. I was going to say a charade one time for a building. It was sort of a charade, but it was really funny because it was one of the few that I was in where the architects and engineers all got along. Dan's an architect and an engineer, so he has all this internal problem with himself. And architects and engineers absolutely can't stand each other, but when they get in a room and they start talking to one another, they find out they agree. So a lot of my life I spend counseling between architects and engineers. You need to get everyone in the room. The most important person to get in the room is the maintenance person from the last building you designed, because he wants to kill you, because you've done a crappy job at making it easy for him to maintain the building. And talk to the peers that can help you. Better coordination with the money that's around. There's money all over the place, and you gotta go after the money to do some of this stuff.